Hi, my name's Benji and welcome to Dice vs Cards. Here we have a Magic the Gathering budget modern deck tech. Now for those of you that think the price is too high and the barrier to entry is insurmountable to the modern format, then we're here with a deck that costs just $75 to prove that theory wrong. Now if you like the fundamentals of Magic in playing lands, turning them sideways, then playing creatures and turning them sideways, then we're here with the deck for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mono Green Stompy. Now this is a deck with overstated creatures for their converted mana cost, and with a sprinkling of pump spells in there to get that last bit of vital damage through. So without further ado, let's see what's in the deck. So we start with our 1-drop creatures in the form of a playset of Dryad Militant. Now this is effectively just 2 power on board on turn 1, but it has the added benefit of bringing main board graveyard hate, making sideboarding into graveyard hate that little bit less important. Now for our other 1-drop, we're bringing 4 of Experiment 1. Now this creature's evolve ability is going to comfortably allow you to get those +2/+1/+1 counters on, making it that little bit more durable. Now in this slot you could also place 4 of the Pelt Collector. Now although that card's a little bit less durable, you're going to comfortably again get that up to 4 power and 4 toughness in this deck, giving it trample, which again is a really fantastic ability in this deck. However, the tipping point and the reason Experiment 1 stays as my pick is because it synergizes well with the next card we're going to talk about in the deck. That being our first 2-drop in the form of a playset of Avatar of the Resolute. Now not only is the Avatar going to give Experiment 1 counters, it's also going to benefit from those counters. So a 3 power 2 toughness creature for 2 mana is fine, but once you add reach to that, which is situationally beneficial, and trample, which is more often than not beneficial in this deck, alongside that buffing ability, this makes a 4 of this card absolutely essential in this deck. So next up I ask you, what's better than a bear in Magic? Well, it's this guy, 4 of the Colonian Tusker, because 3 power and 3 toughness for 2 mana is just that good. Yes, it gets taken down by lightning bolt, but what else doesn't at 1 or 2 mana? So our last 2-drop is a playset of Strangleroot Geist. Now not only is this a 2/1 with haste, but the Undying mechanic is one of the more frustrating things to deal with in Modern. The fact that you're going to give your opponent the decision as to whether to kill it, knowing it's going to come back as a 3/2 creature, or to let it just keep hitting you for 2 each turn, is one of the more difficult things to deal with in this deck. Now we reach the top of our curve and we're bringing 2 of the Leatherback Baloth, which was a 4 of in earlier iterations of this deck, because again, like the Colonian Tusker, 4 power and 5 toughness for 3 mana is just out of this world fantastic. But it's actually been superseded in this deck by our next pick and our final creature, which is a 4 of Steelleaf Champion. Now this is better in this deck in my opinion because A, it's bringing that extra power, 5 power here, and it's got this effect that is more often than not beneficial in that it can't be blocked by creatures with 2 power or less. Now the fact that it's got 4 toughness means it's going to be out of range of being removed by a lightning bolt. So for all of those reasons I believe it to be slightly better than the Baloth in this deck. So that's our creature package. What about our non-creature package? So with that many creature spells in the deck, there's only so much space for non-creature spells, and here we're bringing 14 of them. and most of them are going to be doing the job of turning these big creatures into massive, hulking, oh my god you're about to die monsters. So we kick off with a play set of Aspect of Hydra. Now you're going to see an abundance of devotion to green in this deck, because you'll see most of the cards have multiple green mana symbols in their top right hand corner. So if a creature with this cast on it goes unblocked, it's likely going to be Goodnight Vienna for your opponent. In a similar vein, we bring in 4 of Vines of Vastwood. Now for 1 mana at instant speed, this is going to give one of your creatures hexproof. But if we kick that in for an extra mana, then it's also going to give a paltry +4/+4 to your creature. So again, if a creature with this on goes unblocked, that's a hell of a lot of damage getting through. Then we only have 2 spaces for some removal in this deck, and we're bringing 2 of the card Dismember. Now there's not a hell of a lot of hard removal at instant speed in green, so this Dismember kind of acts like a colourless 1 mana, 5 damage, or here -5/-5 to an opponent's creature until the end of turn. All we're going to have to do is pay that 4 life each time, which is a small price to pay to get some pesky creature out of the way for your big guys to do their thing. Finally, we have a play set of Rancor, which is an extremely frustrating card for your opponent to deal with, because the +2/+0 to the creature is fair, but it's the ability that it gives the creatures trample, and that more often than not coming back to your hand if the creature dies, that makes this card so special. So that is a really good way to end up the creature and non-creature package. And now we're going to see what lands we have in the deck. So part of the reason that this remains a budget deck is because it's mono-coloured, and that means we can bring 18 good old-fashioned forests, because every card in this deck is castable with green mana. However, every creature heavy deck should at least consider the addition of manlands, and here we're bringing 2 of the card Treetop Village, because for 2 mana we're going to be able to create a 3/3 creature with trample, which fits perfectly into this deck. So that's the end of our 60 card main board. Let's take a look at the sideboard. So building a sideboard is heavily meta dependent, so you're going to want to put cards in there that are going to help you against the decks you most often encounter wherever it is you play. However, these are the choices that I've made that provide a good all-round fit for this deck. So we start with 2 copies of Guttural Response, which is there to combat control heavy decks that are looking to lock down your creatures or bounce them back to your hand. We then have 2 copies of Pithing Needle, because there are umpteen cards in the meta at any given time that have activated abilities that can be nixed by playing a well placed Pithing Needle. We then have brought 3 copies of Feed the Clan, which is going to help you against multiple burn strategies and keep you and your life over the top in time for you to kill your opponent. I've brought here 2 copies of Gleeful Sabotage, and this is going to help you against decks like Affinity that are artifact heavy, or any deck that plays multiple enchantments, which could be in control decks or any different type. And you'll see that Conspire ability will help you if there are multiple targets. 2 copies of Malira Silvok Outcast have been brought, obviously just to counter Infect, so if your meta doesn't include much of that deck, then this is going to be a wasted card. We then have 2 of Scavenging Ooze, which fits perfectly into a creature heavy deck like this and allows you to stimmy your opponent's recursion abilities and any graveyard interaction they might have, and you're also going to be buffing your ooze and gaining life in the process. And finally really just to target Affinity or any artifact heavy decks. We're bringing 2 copies of Creeping Corrosion. So there you have it. There's your 75 card mainboard and sideboard, and I think we've illustrated as advertised that you can build a competitive modern deck for just $75. So that's all from me. I'll see you next time.